Hey guys, got some Gen 6 LU to see how good Champion Steve and Steam is. Let's get right into it. They go with the Metagross, go right for that Mega Evolution, I start with the Aggron. I go for the Curse, they set up a Substitute. They set up some Stealth Rocks, I decide to fire for an Earthquake, break that sub. He fires off the Hammer-Arm, puts a huge chunk, Aggron eats that up, fires off an Earthquake, takes him out. The next Pokemon is in the Heatran. He goes for that Lava Plume, takes out my Aggron. My next Pokemon is in the Claydol. I take some damage from those rocks. He goes for the Earthquake. I'm flying right above that. I retaliate with the Earth Power, do a huge chunk, get the special defense lower. He then switches into his Virizion. I go for another Earth Power. He eats that right up, even with the crit. I then switch into my Skarmory, take a little bit of damage. He goes for the Giga Drain, does absolutely nothing to my bird. Gets some lefties back. He then switches into his Kyurem Black, gets that Terra Volt going, and then I decide to set up my own rocks. I go back into my Claydol, take some hazard damage. He goes for the Draco Meteor, I eat that right up. He gets that special attack lower. Fires off a Psychic, does absolutely nothing. I go for the Rapid Spin, get rid of his hazards. He fires off an Ice Beam, Claydol's eating up all of that. I give him that bad poison with the Toxic. He takes some damage over there. I then switch into my Metagross. He goes for the Draco, does absolutely nothing. Gets another special attack lower. I then go for the Mega Evolution, go for the Iron Head, take out the Kyurem. He goes back into the Heatran. I outspeed, go for the Earthquake, take him out. He then goes into the Diancie, takes a little bit of damage from those rocks. I go for the Iron Head, take him out in one shot. He goes back into the Virizion, takes a little bit of damage. I go for the Zen Headbutt, take him out. His last Pokemon is in the Steelix. I go for the Earthquake, he eats that right up. He goes for the Fire Fang, does absolutely nothing to my Metagross. I decide to go for some more Earthquakes. He's going for some Fire Fangs, but you can see how this is going to end. I go for one more Earthquake, take him out. Good game. At this time I ask you guys to please like, comment, share, and subscribe as it really helps out the channel. Without further ado, let's get into game 2. I start Skarmory, they start with the Fortress. We exchange some rocks, I go for the Brave Bird, he sets up some spikes on my side. I then decide to switch into my Claydol, take some hazard damage, he sets up some more spikes. I go for the Rapid Spin, do barely anything but get rid of all of his hazards. He says, sets up more spikes. I give him an Earth Power, and he sets up more rocks. I go for another Rapid Spin because Claydol really doesn't like those hazards. He goes for a Rapid Spin himself, gets rid of mine. He activates that Custap Berry, sets up that Stealth Rocks. I go for the Earth Power, take out the Fortress. His next Pokemon is in the Togekiss. He goes for the Air Slash, does a good chunk. I completely whiff the Toxic. He goes for another Air Slash. This time I get that flinch. Claydol is struggling over here. He goes for another Air Slash. I whiff another Toxic. Get some of my lefties back. He goes for another Air Slash. Claydol just hangs on but flinches again. He goes for one more Air Slash. Takes out the Claydol. My next Pokemon is in the Aggron. Take a little bit of damage. He goes into his Ferrothorn. I go for the Heavy Slam, do absolutely nothing, and take damage from those barbs. I decide to start cursing the Ferrothorn, getting my boost over here. He sets up some more hazards. I get a little bit from the lefties, and so does he. I'm still cursing out Ferrothorn over there, getting my boost. He decides to set up some more spikes on my side of the field. He's still setting up spikes. I fire for an Earthquake, do about half, but Ferrothorn is such a tanky beast. Give him another Earthquake, he just hangs on and sets up some seeds. Starts sapping my health over here. He goes for the knockoff, gets rid of my leftovers. I give him one more Earthquake, finally take out the Ferrothorn. He goes back into the Togekiss, fires off the Flamethrower, Aggron eats that right up. I go for the Heavy Slam, take him out in one shot. He then goes into the Dusclops, goes for the Will-O-Wisp, burns my monster over here. I go for the Heavy Slam, he eats that right up. Gets some health from the Leech Seed, I take some burn damage. He goes for the Disable. I go for the Head Smash, do a little bit on my way out as the Leech Seed finally takes me out. I then go into my Armaldo, take a lot of damage from those hazards. Go for the knockoff, he just hangs on. I get rid of the Eviolite, he burns me again with the Wisp. I go for the Stab Stone Edge, connect, take out the Dusclops. He then goes into the little Shroom Boy. I go for the knockoff just to knock off the Sludge. He goes for the Giga Drain. Armaldo just hangs on, but goes down to the burn. I then go into my Skarmory, take a little bit of damage from those rocks. I decide to set up my own rocks. He goes for the Foul Play. Skarmory eats that right up. I decide to get a little greedy, start setting up some spikes, but he finally puts me to sleep. I'm snoring over here, he fires off the Giga Drain. Skarmory does nothing with that. Skarmory wakes up in a hurry. I go for the Brave Bird, do about half to the Mushroom, take some recoil. He goes for the Foul Play, Skarmory says, no problem. I go for another Brave Bird, take out the Mushroom. His last Pokemon is in the Azumarill. He takes a lot of damage from those hazards. I go for the Brave Bird, he just hangs on, eats his berry, goes for the Belly Drum, cuts his half, maxes that attack. He goes for the Aqua Jet, takes out my Skarmory. I then go into my Cradily, take a lot of damage from those hazards. He goes for the Aqua Jet, I eat that up with the Storm Drain, go for the Sludge Bomb, take him out. Good game. Alrighty, let's get into game 3. I start with the Skarmory, they start with the Bisharp. They go right back into the Charizard. I decide to set up some rocks. I then switch into my Claydol. He goes for the Fire Punch. Claydol eats that right up but gets hit with the Burn. He goes back into the Bishop, takes a little bit of damage from the rocks. I do nothing with my Toxic. I'm able to outspeed, fire off the Earth Power through a huge chunk, but he just hangs on. Goes for the Shadow Claw. Claydol just hangs on and survives the Burn. He then switches into the Zygarde, gets down with those rocks. Aura breaks, I go for the Earth Power, do absolutely nothing. He's able to outspeed, go for the Brick Break, take out my Claydol. I then go into my Skarmory. He decides to switch into the Charizard, takes big damage from those rocks. I set up some spikes. He goes for the Fire Punch, does a little bit to Skarmory. I go for the Whirlwind, cycle him into the Bisharp, take him out. The next Pokemon is in the Gengar, takes some damage from those hazards, goes for the Ice Punch, does absolutely nothing. I decide to set up some more spikes. He starts tightening that focus and gives me a Focus Punch, gets the crit, Skarmory eats that up, goes for the Whirlwind, cycles into the Charizard, who then goes down to the rocks. He then goes back into the Gengar, takes a little bit more damage from those hazards, tightens that focus. I set up some spikes. He goes for the Focus Punch, does absolutely nothing to my Bird. He starts tightening his focus again. I go for the Brave Bird this time, do a huge chunk and break that focus. He then just has to fire off a Haze for some reason. Doesn't matter, I go for the Brave Bird, take out the Gengar. He then goes into the Nidoking, gets her with those hazards, goes for the Brick Break, Skarmory eats that up, goes for the Whirlwind, cycles him right back into the Zygarde. He goes for the Dragon Ball, Skarmory is still tanking this, goes for the Brave Bird, he just hangs on. He goes for the Dragon Pulse, finally takes out my Skarmory. I then decide to go into my Aggron. He goes for the Earth Power, one-shots the Aggron. I then go into the Metagross, go for that Mega Evolution, Bullet Punch, he just hangs on, goes for the Earth Power, Metagross takes about half from that, go for another Bullet Punch, take him out. He then goes into the Garchomp, takes a little bit of damage from all those hazards. I go for the Iron Head, Garchomp just hangs on, goes for the Earthquake, takes out my Metagross. I then switch into my Romaldo. He goes for the Mega Evolution with his Garchomp, goes for the Earthquake, I just hang on. Go for the knockoff, he just hangs on, but I have the Aqua Jet and take him out. He then goes into his Nidoking, takes a lot of damage from those rocks. I go for the Aqua Jet, he just hangs on. Goes for the Brick Break, Romaldo eats that up. Go for another Aqua Jet, take him out. Good game. And that's the video. Please know what you guys think down below and stay tuned for future content. Peace.